Acknowledging the power. So our thoughts are our prayers. That's the first thing that we really need to pay attention to. Every thought is a prayer. And in every way we organize our thoughts, we're organizing our prayers. So as Judith said, if you have 23 hours of worry and 1 hour of prayer, guess what you're going to be getting? You're going to be getting the results of the 23 hours. I want to walk you through a process, a daily process that most of us have had happen, and kind of break it down and look at it. I'm sitting in my chair and I'm watching a movie, and I'm comfortable, and I hear the door close of a car out in the parking lot, and I know that that's Judith, who just came home. So automatically, without a lot of thought, I think the thought, I'll get up, I'll go out, and I'll see if I can help her bring anything in that she might have to bring in. And within seconds, of course, my body is up and ready to go, and I'm on my way. Now, I want to break down what happened. I'm sitting quietly watching a movie. I hear a sound. My brain says, aha, and my body begins to move. Now, if we look at that, there's a power operating through me that got me up and got me moving to the car, and I help her come in, and things are fine. And so you see, I know that there's a power for good that I can use, and I use it, and it works. Now, I'm sitting watching a movie, and there's a knock at the door. This is my movie. I've been waiting for this movie, and there's a knock at the door. It could be UPS. It also could be my next door neighbor who borrows things and doesn't return them. And I'm thinking, I don't want to get up, but I need to get up. So part of me gets up, and a part of me doesn't get up. And I hesitate to wait to see if the knocking is going to continue, and of course it does when it gets louder. And there's a part of me that's irritated that I have to get up, but then again, maybe I don't have to get up. If I'm just quiet and I don't say anything, maybe she'll go away. By the same token, she can probably hear the movie. There's a lot of struggle going on here. There's a lot of energy being spent getting ready to get up and not get up. And so I finally get up and I go to the door, and it's her, and she wants 2 eggs. And she won't return those eggs or any eggs that even look like those eggs. So I give her 2 eggs, and I go back and I sit down in the chair to watch the movie, and I'm not able to watch the movie because I'm irritated that I just lost 2 eggs in part of my movie. And I'm not happy that I have to give away eggs and lose the movie, and I can't seem to get back into it, partly because of my resentment that this happened. Did any of you ever have an experience like that? Any of you notice that when you affirm something, or you move in the direction of something positive and something negative happens, it takes you over? Okay, so I want to change gears now. How many of you would look forward to and appreciate winning $1 million? Yeah, not a bad thing. Sure, yeah, I could use that. And so, as I know in the mind of God, $1 million is there for me. I can have that $1 million. It's mine. I can claim it. Not a problem. And so in my mind, I'm sitting there in my same chair. The movie's not on any longer. The movie's over. And I'm thinking about that $1 million. And wow, mind is a powerful thing. I can create $1 million. And what am I going to do with it? And I was thinking there's a couple of programs I'd like to sponsor on PBS. I'd love to be able to go to a restaurant and give away $100 to the waitress and say, thank you, have a nice day. But maybe that would be a waste. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Which program should I sponsor? 50% of that money is going to have to go to the government. I don't like that idea of having to give away half of my money. This is $1 million, but it just turned into $500,000, and that's quite a hit to take when I just became a millionaire. And I'm going to have people coming out of the woodwork that I didn't know before that are going to be family and relatives. They're going to want some of this. And so I'm probably going to have to leave town. Where will I go? I love being a millionaire, but I don't know if I could stay in town. I'm going to have to change my phone number. I certainly can't be on Facebook anymore, which is where I spend a lot of I already live there. This $1 million is becoming quite a tragedy. I've already lost my home. I can't have any friends. I don't trust my relatives. The government's got half the money, and I was just a minute ago a millionaire. I want you to notice what happens when you begin a thought and where it can go and why at the end. Yeah, it never happened to her. But that's what we do with our thoughts. That's where we go with our thoughts. So we affirm something really positive, and then we start thinking, what if? I went recently to the doctor to have an MRI of my brain. So they wanted to be sure that it was still working. And I'm walking in thinking, this is going to be a good experience. This is going to be fantastic. They're going to find out it's a better brain than they thought it was. And I'm going to be discovering even more parts of my brain than I've been able to see because it'll be I'll have it on film. You can't beat that. And there's another part of me saying, but what if they find something wrong with your brain? What if it's defective? You can't spell. It could be a brain disorder. You don't know. And so what I want you to notice is, on the one hand, I'm affirming the power and the wonder and the amazing brain that I have. On the other hand, I'm kind of right behind it thinking, you could be dead before this MRI is over with. Because once they turn that machine on, it's over for you, because they're going to know. I did have an MRI a while back, and they looked at the MRI and said, you have a much younger brain than your age. And I thought, that's because it hasn't been used that much. I've been saving it for later. So it's fun to laugh at this, but what I find so amusing and interesting is how often we undo the very thing we're trying to do. We are our own undoing. And because we're our own undoing, we think that prayer treatment doesn't work. And the truth is, it works just fine if you get out of the way. Now, here's the dilemma. You have to acknowledge there's a power for God, or power for good, and it's God. You have to say what it is that you want to claim. You have to say yes to it, and then you have to be teachable. That's the part that we don't often talk about. You have to be teachable. That is, you have to be willing now to get out of your way with all of the things that you know and you're so smart about, and become teachable, that it could come true for you, and it could come true for you in ways you had not imagined. The trouble is, we do treatment, and then we go ahead and try to arrange everything so it can happen. As opposed to saying, I can do this, but I'm probably going to have to learn in the process. I'm going to have to come to this as a child and be teachable. Well, it's kind of interesting to be the kind of an adult that can see and know and call out what it is you want, and at the same time be a child in wonder and amazement, and as I said some time ago, allow the mystery to be the maker. When we allow the mystery to be the maker of our future, we make a different future. When we have to make it happen, which we like to do because we want it to work, it doesn't work. I could win $1 million. How could I do that? I've got to pick 6 numbers. The good news is I picked 6 numbers for the last 26 years. I got all the bad ones taken care of. The truth is, that's not probably how I'll get $1 million. In fact, the odds are better that you'll win $1 million and share it with me than that I will win it on my own. So what do I have to do? I have to know that my abundance doesn't come from one particular source, but I have to become teachable and allow that source to be revealed to me. I have to know that I'm a millionaire in heart and soul and being, and then watch with total amazement as the universe arranges things that could happen. But I don't do that. I get in my own way. I've got till Tuesday to be a millionaire. Okay, I'll buy a ticket. I'll do something. I'll make it happen. The truth is, we can't make it happen, and it can't happen without us. So we're in the middle of it, but we're not it. We're in the dance, but we have a partner. We're not dancing alone, and we can't always lead the dance. We have to be willing to be led at the same time that we're leading. It's kind of an interesting paradox to get up on the floor and say, I'm willing to dance and I don't know the dance. And I have a partner, but I'm not going to be able to lead all the time. I'm going to have to be able to be led. So this teaching is really, it's a teaching for grown-ups. It's a teaching for grown-ups because you really have to say, I know everything I need to know, while at the same time I know nothing. And I have to be willing to know nothing, to be teachable enough to find out what it is I need to know next, what I need to do next. And we know so much more than we even could imagine that we know if we would just allow ourselves to do that. I was at the hospital yesterday. I work at the hospital part-time. And two women came in, both just panic-stricken. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, my father just had a stroke, and I'm afraid he's going to die. Now, You got to be careful what you say in a situation like that. But I knew something. I said, it wasn't a hemorrhagic stroke, was it? She said, no, it's one of those clot things. So I already knew that I knew. And I said, it's going to be okay. Not only is he going to thrive, you're going to look back at this and be amazed. And she said, oh, I so want to believe that. I said, September the 9th, 2014, I had one of those strokes. And I'm here. She said, wow. I said, I didn't die. She said, I can see that. Which was good. She could see that. So she left. About 3 hours later, she came back and she said, that was so important and so helpful. He's laughing and joking, and he's getting better, and it worked. Now, I stepped out on the limb, and I knew what could happen, but I knew somehow more than I could know that in this case, what I knew was true. That he wasn't going to be in a situation that could easily have been. I knew that, and I trusted that I knew that. And when she went to see him in the intensive care unit, she went with a different attitude and a different knowing, and came away having affirmed that that wasn't going to be it. We know these things, and we don't know how we know them, and we often don't trust them. We have to trust our inner wisdom that there is actually only one mind, and that mind is the mind of God that we actually tap into. It's kind of like having cable, and you can keep changing the station. We didn't know we had so many stations. Unfortunately, we get stuck on a couple of them that aren't very interesting to watch and believe that's all there is to work with. But the truth is, every one of you is one of those stations that oh yeah, I like her. She's amazing. Absolutely. I had no idea that happened to you. We could tune into, just like the story that Judith told, so much more if we weren't just tuned into how am I doing. See, we're often tuned into ourselves. We're tuned into what's going on with me, and how are you seeing me, and how am I being with you? What should I do next? As opposed to, I can get out of my own way and be with you to the point where I'm not even here. And when I'm not here, guess who is here? You're here. And I can pay a lot of attention to that, and I can notice a lot about that. And I invite you this week to pay more attention to the people around you than maybe you've been noticing, and notice or paying, and notice in them things you haven't noticed. But in particular, notice what makes them amazing. Now, I met a woman today who's in her 80s. It's no big deal. But she has the skin of a woman who's in her 60s. And I was amazed. How could you be so young and be that old? And she's just not that old. And what's interesting is it's not just skin deep. When I listened to her talk, I got that she was much younger than that as well. So, in fact, there's a coherence between her outer and her inner, and she's a young woman who happens to have been around for a long, long, long time and has plans to be around a lot longer. Isn't it interesting when you start paying attention to how much more there is to a person, how much you get to see? Then, if you want to, you could be looking inside of you and assuming the same. We tend not to do that. We tend to think less of ourselves. We tend to think more about the people. So one way to get to pay attention to you is to pay more attention to someone else, and then ask yourself, is any of that in me? Does any of that look like me? Or any of those qualities that I have? Wow, we're actually in this together. We're doing this together. It's so, so important. So know the mind of God is your mind. And that the mind of God doesn't mind. And that you can have what it is you want to have if you would choose to say yes, while at the same time having no earthly idea how it could possibly happen, and being delighted with the mystery that you're going to find out more about you, what you have to do, and who you truly are as this thing comes to you. Because every treatment is a double gift. It's the gift of what you've asked for, and it's the gift of what you've had to learn to be ready for it and to have it and to experience it. If I were, in fact, to have $1 million, that would be one gift. The second gift would be what I had to learn in order to be able to have the $1 million, and what I would have to do once I had that $1 million to be the person that would manage it well and be ready for the second million, or be willing to give it all up. And so everything you treat for treats you to more than you had imagined, to more than you had thought possible. We tend to be very narrow in our thinking and think that I'm treating for something to come to me, without realizing it will come to you with all the things you need to learn. When I buy a new car, What I get is extraordinary transportation. What I get is an opportunity to go places. But it also teaches me how to operate it. It also gives me information about me and what I like and don't like that I didn't even know I had. It shows me preferences I didn't realize I had. It tells me about me and what lane I choose to drive in and how fast I choose to go. It teaches me as much as I teach, as much as I learn. So I want you to go home this week and think about what you're treating for as a two-edged gift. Both edges are good. The first edge is what it is you're asking for, affirming and knowing is yours. And the second is the gift that you'll be given with the knowledge you'll gain and the understanding that will come to you as a result of having received it. So know what you want and be teachable. Know what you want and be willing to know nothing. And to give up all the things you know to know more and to start all over again. That's what it means to come to us as children. To come to us as a child is to be teachable again and again and again. Life is very humbling because no matter how good you are at it, it shows you how little you know. That's just natural. That's okay. We tend to think that because it shows us what we're not good at, there's something wrong with us. Now, one of the reasons I went to college, actually the reason I went to college is I thought I could show the professors how much I knew. And I learned very quickly that one of the first things I had to do as a student was to be willing to know nothing and be teachable. And everything I learned in college was something I hadn't had before I went. Now, it's humbling to go to college because people, you're in college, you must be smart. No, I'm in college because I'm teachable. And if I don't know anything, I can know more. And the worst students that I was ever in college with were the ones that were like me in the beginning. They already knew this stuff. They didn't need college. And you have to be willing to be teachable. My last little bit of information is fun. As a therapist, I was a psychotherapist for many, many years. And we had a world-class psychotherapist come to watch us work. And his name was Carl Whitaker. And so Carl Whitaker came and he watched me work, and I was good. And I knew I was good. And I came away from the therapy that I had done, and he had watched from behind the mirror, and I said, "What do you think?" He said, "You've got a lot to learn." Okay, that was the end of his conversation. You've got a lot to learn. 2 years later, he came back. He watched me work again. I wasn't so good by now. I'd been at it for 2 more years. I knew I wasn't that good. I asked him what he thought. He said, "You've learned a lot." That was the end of the conversation. He came back 2 years later. I was afraid to even do anything. I didn't know anything anymore. I was one of the dumbest therapists I knew. I was like Columbo doing therapy. And I did what I do. And I came back afterwards and I said, "What do you want to tell me?" He said, "You have mastery." I said, "Wow, I had no idea." He said, No, that's not it." "What's it?" "To do what you did, which demonstrates mastery, but to do it elegantly." Elegantly, what would that look like? Well, it took another 6 months before I was at a concert, and I listened to a vocalist sing a song that she knew and I knew. She knew all the words. She was pitch correct. She did everything the way she's supposed to do it, so she had mastery. But she delivered the song to me personally, one of 5,000 people in the audience. And she delivered the song to every single person in the audience personally. And she involved every one of us, and that was elegant. You see, because it wasn't about her. It was about the relationship we had with an event that was occurring that she was a part of with me. That's elegant. Live your life elegantly. Thank you.